The wish list, item 21. It was, ironically, the notes that Alfie had written to accompany the gifts that ruined everything. He had absent-mindedly signed a lot of the cards as from Stocking.Christmas and some as from Piers Cramp personally. He had thought at the time that this was particularly ironic, suggesting that the relentlessly profit-driven behemoth might be generous and thoughtful, at Christmas most of all, the commercial period in which retailers make a sizable chunk of their profits for the year. This wasn't the irony that brought the whole wish list down, however. It was that Alfie, the one out of the pair of them who had the most faith in human nature, had underestimated the politeness of the general public. No sooner had the presents started being delivered than people started sending thank you notes. Well, emails, to be fair, some of them the more old-fashioned ones. One or two, even more traditional parents did make their children write actual physical notes and post them to Stocking.Christmas headquarters, it's true. Pretty much everyone else, though, took to social media, posting thank yous with a multitude of folded hands and present emojis, and atting in Stocking.Christmas's brand account and sometimes Piers himself. Piers did not, of course, see these messages himself. He had people for that. There was a whole social media team at Stocking.Christmas who handled his account as well as multiple brand ones, but they saw them. They saw all the unboxing videos and clips of shouting children, the threads praising Stocking.Christmas for their seasonal spirit, and the ones criticizing them for their carbon footprint, exploiting their workers for making them deliver the gifts, and for commercializing Christmas and childhood. They saw the posts explaining how to exploit your own wish list settings to take advantage of this campaign, and the other brands jumping on the trend to offer free boxes of cereal and gift-wrapped drain cleaner. It was these people who told Piers. They picked out some representative posts and shared them with him on a video call in which the head of IT security then ran through the system intrusion and how they thought it might have happened. This was followed by finance explaining how much money they were losing, and by operations recommending turning off the wishlist system. IT then butted back in to point out how hard this was, and finance jumped in to explain how the system played a crucial role in seasonal sales. Marketing was of the opinion that they should just pretend that they had meant to do it in the first place and take the win. Piers wasn't listening to them. He was staring at the hardback copy of Dickens' A Christmas Carol that was sitting on his desk with a custom-printed Stocking.Christmas card on top of it. "Happy Christmas, from Nick," it said. He had wondered what it had meant when it arrived, and now he knew. And now he knew what he was going to do about it. Eventually, that decision made its way down from the call to the regional operations, to the country divisions, to the regional heads, to the warehouse chiefs, and finally to Rolf, the day shift manager, who told his team. "We need to check every parcel in case it's a gift. If it's a gift, put it over on this table." A trestle had been set up at one side of the packing station. "Hector, Maiko, you're in charge of the gifts. You check for cards, and then you check the messages in those cards against this list. If any of the messages match, put the gift to one side. If it doesn't, it goes back to packing. Everyone got that?" "We need to change the text," whispered Nick to Alfie. "I can chat GPT it." They were crouched in the shadows up on the walkway above the management block, watching Rolf hold his team meeting below. "Maybe," said Alfie, "but look at them. This is already causing mayhem." Todd had already taken to just dropping gift deliveries on the floor behind him, making Maiko run over to collect them for Hector to check, and they were now all arguing with Rolf about how this was all going to slow down the packing. "That's my team down there," said Alfie. "I have to be honest with you, it's not the greatest job to begin with, and we've just made everything considerably worse. This is the busiest time, and we've made it busier." "Not very Christmassy," said Nick, nodding. "I mean, I don't think Rolf has ever been Christmassy in his life," said Alfie. "Not at Christmas, not at any time. And no, it's not. If one of the things we're trying to do is just make Christmas a little better for some people, we can't go making it worse for others." "What if they weren't people?" said Nick. "Now you're thinking like Piers," said Alfie. "Actually, I am," said Nick. He wanted to automate everything, get rid of all the people, even delivery drivers. The drones, said Alfie. Of course, we couldn't do as much, but we could still do it, couldn't we? Could we? I thought they couldn't get them to work. They, said Nick with his sideways grin, are not me. It turned out that one of the many mad little projects with which Nick had been whiling away his time up in the roof of the warehouse was rewriting the AI for the drones. Alfie very quickly got the impression that Nick had been dying for an excuse to try it out. But first, Alfie got to teach Nick something. If they were going to spare Alfie's team from all the extra work, then they were going to have to do the packing themselves. This wasn't so bad. There were only 9 drones in total, and even though they were large enough to carry a lot of parcels in one go, there was still only so much they could deliver at a time. Once Nick had rewritten his wish list code, the gifts stopped entering the general delivery system and, much scaled down and now limited to the smaller toys, they started being rerouted to the shelves he used from his private stash, down the most secretive end of the warehouse. This included a good supply of branded boxes, and Alfie finally got to show off some expertise of his own. These ones are the easiest. They come already mostly made. He picked one out of the stack. The trickiest bit is the pop to snap it into box shape. He did it with a flick of the wrist. Then you put the product in with the card, tear off this strip, stick the flap down, address on, bish bash bosh, and we're done. Next. Nick could absolutely not get the pop. While he practiced stuffing his first few boxes, Alfie got on with a little craft of his own. I have new respect for packers, said Nick. What are you doing? Alfie, who had been fiddling with a waiting drone, stood back. He had stuck a set of foam antlers to it. I'm calling this one Rudolph, he said. They ought to be reindeer, oughtn't they? Flying through the snow to bring presents. That'll mess with the aerodynamics, was all that Nick said, but he smiled his smile, and the antlers stayed on Rudolph.